Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Gyle here, and welcome back to the Forged Alliance Forever promotional series. Apologies once again, tardiness taking over, finding it so hard to find the time at the moment to crank these out. I promise to try and get on a more even keel next week and get everything back to the way it should be. In the meantime, though, quick shout out to all the new subs. There's been a bit of a spike recently thanks to the Planetary Annihilation Alpha and all of the associated videos that have come out with that, which means that most of our subcommers casters are enjoying spikes in our new sub rate. And hello and welcome to all of you. And if you allow me to do a quick little bit of salesmanship, guys, specifically new subscribers, if you like what you see and you're not exactly sure what it is you are looking at, the game is Supreme Commander Forged Alliance, not Supreme Commander 2. It is the standalone expansion for Supreme Commander. And it's available on Steam for £10 or $15 or whatever the equivalent is in your local currency. And all you need to do to come and join us here at the community is, once you have that game installed, and it doesn't matter if it's the digital download edition from Steam or the tangible retail copy, all you need to do once that game is installed is download the Forged Alliance Forever multiplayer client, and you can find a link to that in the description below this video. And that will allow you to come and chat with all of us in chat, use our Mumble server, browse our replay and map vaults, and of course importantly play and set up matchmaking games with all of us, and also flame people on the forums. So yeah, come join us. It would be great to see you. And also don't worry if you're not a pro, there are people of all different standards that play this game, and none of them are worse at it than me. So please don't feel intimidated by anything or any of the play you see in these videos. There are plenty of newbie games to come along and enjoy and get involved with. Also, if there are any Redditors out there, guys, there is one chap, I can't remember his name, and I do apologize to him for it. He's been diligently linking all of the casts that are done by the casters for FAF onto Reddit. And if you are a member of Reddit, if you do use Reddit, or even if you don't, it takes no time to sign up for an account. It would be really helpful if you could just go on there and upvote all of those casts, or as many as you can feel that you can manage. It just helps getting a little bit of exposure for the community and for the casters, so please crack on with that. I'll be putting a link to that in the description below this video as well. And as always, guys, if I've forgotten to do that, please just shout at me in the comment section and I will try and get that done. Anyway, on to today's game. I've got a ladder match for you guys, and it's going to take place on the quintessential open palm. So let's head on over to the game zone and see how they're going to get on. Of course, open palms been in the ladders and pools for an absolute age, needs no introduction whatsoever, but our players deserve one, so we're going to give one to them. Up here in the blue corner, going Cybran, it's Mielus. He's opening first land, no surprises there. And then down here in the red corner, his opponent, sporting this season's very fashionable Aeon, it's Flynn, also opening first land, so no surprises there either, all very standard. Looking like there's anything crazy going on in those build orders. Initially, Flynn's opening with engineers straight off the bat, whereas Mielus is looking a little bit more aggressive. We have a light assault bot rolling off the conveyor belt, followed by at least 2 moles. And as that comes off, only then, after those 3 units, does he start working on engineers to help with his expansion. Flynn, on the other hand, has produced 2 engineers right off the bat, 3 as well, so very different openings there from these 2 players. One very aggressive, one very expansionist, but I don't know, it's going to be tough. You can see those factories being queued up there, one air factory being thrown down for the adjacency bonus on the hydro. But of course, Flynn bringing his ACU forward, as you would expect. He's going to be using that to assist, though, the production of that hydrocarbon. Very standard play, that indeed. But the engineers coming out to flank those mexes with land factories means that they're all pretty close to the ACU, which should be able to protect these engineers from that early little push. In fact, Mielus not looking to force a difficult position there at all. He's just going to hang out on the perimeter and wait to see if he can snag an engineer as they come out of their base. So very similar set of movements indeed, except for that initial build order on that first factory. air factory going down first. So we could potentially see some early bombers coming out from Mielus, but otherwise very similar numbers of factories. But the only difference is, of course, Mielus not going for the adjacency bonus on the mechs is there at all. One of those moles getting picked off there by what looked like the Aurora got the kill on that. ACU did fire away, but Aurora going to walk away with that one, and as a result that lab and mole that's still surviving is going to move out to the left hand side. Thought for a moment actually he was going to sit on these mechs here, but he's not. He's going to try and sneak in around the back to harass this rear set of mass points, these 3 mass points, which always seem to be so difficult to hold on to on open palms. Can't remember the last time I saw a game where both players immediately went for their rear mass points and held on to them for the majority of the game. They always seem to get run-bys in around here, which is funny because it's so far away from your opponent, but it's just such a lot of ground to cover. But I don't know whether it's going to be successful. That Spirit seems to have locked on to that lab and that mole. So you think Flynn is aware that they are there. He'll know if he doesn't finish it off that they are going around the back. He decides to wants to hold on to that Spirit, and he's just going to probably ignore those 3 mass points until he can deal with that, or those units, I imagine. But we've got some bombers out now for Mielus, and both Flynn and Mielus very typically moving their ACUs forward and to the right of their bases respectively. Bombs away. Looks like he's going, that was a lab that went down there. Looks like a lab, maybe potentially. Yeah, that's the Spirit up there. I think that was a lab. I think that was. We're going to go with that. But another bombing run coming in now for this bomber. Could grab this engineer if he's lucky. Comes in now. Nice work there. And then he snags the Aurora too, but the volley just falls short. But that will hamper expansion out here for Flynn, at least for the moment. However, Flynn's doing rather well. 35 mass to Mielus's 24. So he's definitely got the better of the opening here. That bomber does snag that Aurora on the second run, and another bomber out from Mielus just hovering over the back here. You can see there are queued up buildings here. The question is, will he continue to go for it? He will know at least that the lab and that scout has made his way down here, but now engineer coming in underneath that bomber. The bomber will see it. Will it turn around to engage is the question. It looks like it is hanging a right turn to do exactly that, and that will be the end of any expansion attempts into the back of Flynn's side of the map. Not that it looked like it was going to be successful anyway, not with the mole and lab sitting there as they are. Mielus going to be throwing down a land factory over there. Flynn already has his in place, and first little fracas going on up here at the top between the main body of the units there, main set of units for these 2 races, the Auroras and the Mantis. And there is a fervor in the mix there, which might manage to snag that mechs before those 2 units get swatted. Yes, he does. So, a little grab there. 43 mass plays 35 in favor of Flynn. Flynn's still ahead. Couple of Mantis moving forward. One to snag this engineer. Might just manage it. That's what they're homing in on, but the Auroras have the numbers to kill him in time. Just 8 hit points left on that NG. That will be a story to tell its grandkids if it survives this battle, which surely he's not going to on 8 hit points. I doubt it. There should be some way that on a replay I can mark that unit so I can see if they do survive at the end. Someone make that happen, some clever techie. Lots of Mantis on the field, pushing right up here for Mielus. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that he's got a lot more there than Flynn seems to, despite having comparable amounts of factories. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 back in the main base. Last look, that seemed to be a comparable amount to Flynn. Flynn's moving forward with his ACU. Needs to be a little bit careful here. That's an awful lot of Mantis in that area, and he's pushing back with his own Auroras. He's got some backup here on the right-hand side. Does he have access to overcharge? 9,000. Yes, he does. However, he doesn't have a lot of power income, so that bar's going to fill up quite slowly after each overcharge. Beautiful overcharge there. Grabs 2 or 3 units. He gets down to around 6,000 HP and falling. He's got a lot of reinforcements finally arriving though on the scene, and that will be enough to discourage those Mantis from pushing any further. 5,500 hit points, exactly 50% of his health taken off in that little engagement there. Mielus deciding rightly though not to force a bad position. Instead is going to make sure he grabs all of those mexes, and down Mielus drops to 24 mass, but Flynn being snagged down to 35 as well, so they're both in the game. Meanwhile, a little group of Auroras pushing up, this time quite close to Flynn's base. Going to go to split screen to keep an eye on these two engagements here. Mantis pushing down on the right hand side, yet more mexes going down there for Flynn. But here we go, lots of fervors, lots of Auroras primarying the air factory, so this will be the end of bombers and interceptors, at least for the moment. Nice snag there, probably not going to manage to get any more kills, structure kills, not with the amount of Mantis that are closing in on that position. Meanwhile, this little band on the right still looking rather healthy, snagging yet more mass points. And that has allowed Mielus to take the lead in the eco side of things. How are we looking on reclaim? 319 for Flynn, 700 for Mielus. So Mielus is ahead in eco and reclaim. Looking pretty here at the 9.5 minute mark. And now groups of Mantis coming in to free up this position. He's also got a few Medusa in that mix as well. Last two further units, they're going to get finished off. Mantis pushing around the back. If those two groups meet up here and push in, that could be very nasty indeed. Meanwhile, few Auroras have broken through on the top. Such an open field here on Open Palms. Its name working for it as you would expect it to. Taking down yet two more mass points there. Flynn moving in towards the edge of the nook there, and then on you expect potentially to the rear 3 mass points. But this is a nasty amount of units. Flynn really needs to be careful here. If I were him, I'd be building some T1 PD. There's not a great deal of Medusas in this mix. Literally 2 that I can see, or maybe 3. And without Medusas, it's going to be tough to deal with PDs that are thrown down. But he wants to use units instead. He has got the build capacity to at least kind of anchor this down a little bit. I'm surprised he isn't going for it. And those Auroras are indeed making their way around the back, going to go straight for those rear mass points. And Mielus expects what's coming. He's clearing out with that engineer, going to throw down a land factory so he can reclaim these 3 mass points as soon as he manages to clear the area. Those Mantis now moving in. Time to go to split screen again. We've got another engagement happening up top. This time, though, Aurora's massively inferior to the Mantis. And land factory going down there as well. So Flynn not looking in a fantastic position. Not at the moment, at least. Those Auroras backing off, not wanting to force a bad position. A few of them pushing on forwards, going to bump into Mielus's ACU. Going to change their mind. A couple of vulnerable mexes they can take down, though. You really do see why Open Palms is a map that separates the men from the boys. Trying to keep your attention on this many things at the same time is nigh on impossible. This may incidentally, to some of you, look like an average Joe's. You might be wondering why this guy, Flynn, he's just below 1300. This guy's 1343. Remember these days that the ladder 1v1s operate off the ladder rankings, not the global rankings. So these guys are both over 1500 and don't qualify for average Joes. You can probably tell that by the quality of the play. Another 4 mass points getting swatted there by Mielus, keeping him ahead in the eco game. Flynn down to 23 mass income. A bunch of inties on the field there for Flynn, wanting to stay ahead in the air game, having previously taken out that air factory that has now subsequently been rebuilt. So Mielus too hampered there. Flynn been pursuing this group of Mantis as they make another run by on the right hand side. That's a lot of Auroras though, trying to make their way past the Nook. Want to get too involved close quarters with the Mantis. Wants to use that ranged advantage if he can. And, Flynn's going to lose more units than he needed to there. He wants to prevent those units getting in around the back and getting away from him again, tying up his units in some kind of merry-go-round around the Nook. He wants to try and defeat them as best he can, and then be available to push up on the right-hand side, but he has let some more units make his way down that way. It's a lot of fervors and auroras over on that left-hand side. Nice unit composition there from Flynn. Lots and lots of fervors. A couple of spirits in there for intel. And this time the Mantis over on the right-hand side change their minds. They come back up, which is a wise move. Can at least grab this mechs, although they're working on the units at the moment. Finally retarget that mass point. Down it goes. No point going around the back there. Wasn't going to have any option on any mexes. Still been downed at the back there. And onwards push those Mantis, groups of Mantis. But I think those Auroras have the numbers. Don't want to keep pushing up too much and let them in behind. He can finish off this body of troops without any real difficulty. Notice as well, Mielus of course has both the ridges there. So that's an extra 6 mass points that's available to him. And you've got to start thinking that things don't look great for Flynn, although he's actually ahead on mass. That's all got to be down to upgrades, surely. You can see him upgrading mexes down here. He's got one T2 one there, another one at 45% or so. A couple of vulnerable mexes though, just getting picked off by a run by, or at least one of them. That one might yet survive. Oh my god, kill it. Kill it with fire! Oh no, survives on 32 hit points. Unreal. Flynn over on this time, getting caught on an upgrade with his commander. His commander will have enough to deal with it. Looks like he's got a rate of fire upgrade there on that comm. So definitely, yeah, there it is, enhanced quantum disruptor and the quantum accelerator. So he's going sniper comm and another upgrade on the comm as well. Will be the core upgrade there. Take a look at what that's going to be in just a second. And we'll see if he can use that to any great effect to sort of turn the tide of this battle. He's dropped below again. That might have been a momentary spike on a reclaim or something. He's up to about 6,000 reclaim to 4,000 on Mielus. So Flynn is really charged on the reclaim side of things. Nicely done. It's probably allowing him to get these upgrades in place, despite having lost a good chunk of map control to Mielus. T2 on this commander here, a couple of Cerberus turrets in place, and they've of course had their damage nerfed a little bit since they changed the beam so they hit more effectively. Apparently their damage was beefed a while back to compensate the fact that they missed an awful lot. To be honest, I've never really liked Cerberus turrets. I've always kind of found them lacking. But still, groups of T1 units against a couple of Cerberus turrets. Tough ask for the units. Hydro's being nabbed there from Flynn. And look at that shield upgrade. So that is a beastly looking commander. 29,000 HP on the shield, 12,000 on the comm, with the rate of fire and the range upgrade on the gun. Throw in overcharge into that mix, and that is a walking machine of death. And he's on the move as well. Where is he headed? He's moving in to join up with his units over on the right-hand side. There are some PDs in place. The question is, can he use that ACU with enough effect to turn the game, the tide in this game? And he's not falling behind on the unit production either, Flynn. He's got enough on this left-hand side, certainly, to deal with all of these units. There are already a couple of eruptors in place, or at least one. Another one due to be constructed. But he's got enough to deal with that horde of units with just his own. Lots of inties on the field. Neither player going for any kind of air-to-ground option, though. T2 on the field there at the back for Mielus. Still T1 units everywhere else, so we could start seeing some hoplites in play. But the main concern now for Mielus is going to be this commander. Those upgrades very timely indeed. Flynn's done an excellent job. I really do think that extra few thousand reclaim he's nabbed there has made the difference. Beautiful overcharges, helping snag extra units. And it's like those bolts of energy from the Mantis just pinging off that shield. And now look at this, a very vulnerable side of Mielus' base. He's going to have to forge some kind of counterattack, but he hasn't got the units to do it. That's the problem. He can't hurt Flynn in turn the way he's about to be hurt. This looks very bad now suddenly for Mielus. He has been looking pretty good in this game. So we passed the 20-minute mark. One factory down. More to follow subsequently. Commander just focusing on those auto guns, getting those out of commission. And Mielus is moving forward. He's kind of got a bit of a point defense creep on. He needs to be very careful though. It's an awful lot of Auroras, and of course Flynn's ACU is deadly at the moment. So he needs to thin out all of these units and isolate that commander, but of course it's going to be so very difficult to galvanize his units into some kind of fighting force to do it. He can't really leave this side. This group of units will just plow into it. Although there are a lot of Cerberus turrets on the field, and Flynn's starting to erect some eruptors now to assist with the dismantling of this base. And Mielus has got no choice but to move in with his commander. Does he have access to overcharge? No, he doesn't, so Mielus can't even use overcharge to thin out these units. Started building a Cerberus turret there. Is it going to get finished? I don't think it is. There's too many fervors in the mix. Might do. Yeah, no, it does get finished. But of course, now a bit of engagement on this left-hand side. There's a lot of Cerberus turrets, though. Aeon Rex being produced all over the site here, but Mielus is now under heavy pressure. Needs to be really careful. Wants to back up. Lots of Auroras bearing down on him. Dropping down to 8,000, 7,000. We've got Flynn coming in with fire, 5,000, 4,000, 3,000. That's surely game. Drops into the red. Finally, he's moving it, taking further fire and everything. But that ain't going to be enough. Flynn grabs the victory at 22 minutes and 25 seconds. Well played indeed. Very, very nicely done. It did look like Mielus had that one. It really did. Should have had better map control, but those timely upgrades. Where did we have at the end on reclaim? 7,300 for Mielus and a sniff to under 9,000 there for Flynn. So that extra 2,000 and the decision to go with those comm upgrades, absolutely vital. Gave him that punching power to move in. And really, there was no escaping it, because even if he hadn't have gone in with his comm, his base would have been in tatters. There's nothing that Mielus had on the field that's going to be able to deal with that kind of firepower. But anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed that. More to come from me, as always, in the near future. In the meantime, stay well and stay safe. This is Gyle, signing out.